This evening, I have with me Connor from Counterpoints and David Cooley from No Fugazi podcast. They're here to debate the statement women can and should be in the military. Counterpoints, would you like to start with your opening statement, please?
Yeah, sure. So I think the only way that this statement could be denied is if you don't have any military experience, if you've never been a part of the military, or if you just don't understand how the military works. There's a ton of jobs in the military that have nothing to do with infantry. So infantry is to close with, destroy the enemy through fire and maneuver, and basically repel the enemy's assault by fire in close combat. That's something that I think should be largely left to males. We could debate infantry specifically. We can debate combat arms specifically, and whether or not females are physically, temperamentally equipped to handle the rigors of combat. However, there's a ton of other jobs. There's admin at the S1 level. There's the S2 level, which is, intel. There's S4, which is logistics. There's supply admin jobs. There's truck drivers. There's cooks. There's, name a job, and there's probably a military related thing. Not just that, but there's technical competencies that are rare, like nuclear submarine, folks, or engineering, or people who are at a higher level, or officers who you want the best of the best of the best of the best, regardless of what their gender, as long as they can do the job competently. And that's going to be the main thing, is like, we're going to be pretending that we're focusing on meritocratic issues, but there are women who are competent enough to do these alternative roles within the military. Finally, I would just say that 20% approximately, if you look across the branches, Army, Navy, Air Force, they're all about 20%. Marine Corps is at like 10%. I think the Army is specifically at 16%, but effectively, like, almost a fifth of our armed forces is currently female. So, if you're talking about kicking those people out and then bringing in old dudes, not only are you going to have a manpower shortage, but I also think that you're going to have a problem with, in prison, people, I would argue, are not homosexual necessarily, but they engage in homosexual acts. I think by eliminating women from armed services, you're almost guaranteeing to increase institutionalized homosexual activity. I'll leave it there.
Perfect. Thank you, Connor. And David, to you, please.
Okay, so my opening is going to be, so can women serve in the military? Yes, but is it optimal for our society that women serve in the military, other than very few supportive roles? No. Approximately 225,000 women serve in the U.S. active duty military. Roughly 4,800 women serve in infantry, artillery, and combat roles. So what are the other 220,000 women doing? I'll tell you. 25% of them, which is estimated to be around 56,000 women, are in administrative and clerical roles, which consist of managing personnel records, processing paperwork, coordinating schedules, handling correspondence and finances, and supporting leaders with administrative functions. Now, to be fair, I think these roles here are gender neutral, but 75% of the other supportive roles, I think men are more optimal at these jobs, which they consist of security. Men are better. Technical work in electricians and other technical areas, men are better. Medical, men are better, especially when it comes to combat medics at the front lines. Managing and transporting supplies, equipment, men are better. All of these supportive roles here require things like upper body strength and grip strength and to transport equipment, being physically bigger and stronger to secure a location or personnel, having the mental ability to work good under pressure. Women are higher in trait neuroticism, so they feel more negative emotions than men under pressure. Men are more tactical, more analytical, and men are better deductive problem solvers. Now, for the 56,000 women who are basically pushing paperwork, I'm fine with them pushing some paperwork, right? But the question is, should women serve in the military? And I don't think they should in most supportive roles. We have a population crisis, not a military crisis. So basically, all of these positions that women hold in the military, men are better at. What women should be doing is doing things they are better at, which is having babies, giving birth to the next generations and generations to come. And they're not even doing that. We are currently below population replacement level. It takes 2.1 babies to currently sustain our current population. And currently we are at 1.6 babies per women. And women also abort over 1 million babies per year. So women are not even doing their duties. Why should we allow them to do a man's duty? It's nonsensical. If you think about it, the future of our population, we need the military. But if women aren't having babies, then why do we even need the military? What are we protecting our population from if we don't have a population? So I think that men and women have distinct roles, and I think that they should stick to them. That's my ending there.
Perfect. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. As a kind reminder to the viewers, we're going to get through our debate. Then we will move into closing statements. Then, of course, we will read and respond to your kind super chats. And your favorite part comes after that, the open panel dumpster fire. Gentlemen, I leave the floor open to you.
Okay, I think we should probably try to stick with certain arguments. By the way, I have no problems talking about like demographic collapse, population collapse. That's another topic. But if you view it as related and you want to start with what women are doing in the military now, what is optimal, and then you want to move into population, I'm totally fine to follow you into that topic. But right now, you're saying that out of the total armed service, roughly 20% of them, between 10 and 20%, are female. You said the total female service member population is around 250,000 or 225,000. I don't think it really matters. Okay. We're dealing with 250,000 people approximately. You said 50,000 people are shuffling paperwork, and that you largely don't care about female shuffling paperwork because they're admin roles. You don't really care about that. What I heard you say, though, was that you think that 75% of the people, because bear in mind, 100 minus 25 is 75. 75% of those people should not be in the military at all because they're doing other stuff that men are better equipped for. You're saying that they're driving trucks and they're hauling equipment and they're, hauling radios and they're doing corpsman jobs and they're doing this and they're doing that. And men would be better suited for those jobs. Have I summarized your perspective accurately?
That's accurate. Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm saying that is approximately 170,000 people. So it's a shitload of people. In your ideal scenario, I'm assuming based off of your logic, you'd be saying that those people should be exited out of the military and should be replaced by male recruits.
Correct.
Okay. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we can talk about combat arms separate, but there is stuff that females do. Like, for instance, you brought up corpsmen. Combat medics are a fringe part of the Corpsman Corps, the Naval Medical Corps. And I don't even know if we have them in the Marines anymore. But the whole point of it is most of the female medical personnel, they work on base. They're not at forward operating bases. They're not putting on 200 pounds of gear. They're not running around with machine guns. They're not keeping up with the infantry. What they're doing is they're drawing blood. They're checking blood panels. They're talking to doctors. They're talking to fellow nurses. They're doing all that kind of crap. And if you look at the medical field is disproportionately female. So why wouldn't we presume that like female regular nurses could be a part of the military within that job?
Yeah. So once again, I see what you're saying there. You're saying that basically which was in my opening, women are in these fields. And I know that there are more women in the medical field in the military than there are men. My point is, it's not what's optimal, right? If we're looking at what we should do, then we're not just looking at like, well, what we should do is going to be like, what we should do should be something that's best, something that's optimal, something that we should move towards. Not something that we should just make it like, oh, we're making ends meet, and women can, since they can do the job, let them go ahead and do the job. If you are running a company, it's not even logical to run a company that way by hiring people that is just qualified, just making it. You would want the people's in position that is best. So that's my argument. So the question, can women be in the military? Can they hold some of these positions? I'll even take it a step further and say, women can hold guns and shoot them and they can be on the front lines. But is it optimal? No, it's not optimal. And you know it's not optimal. So even when we're speaking about some of these supportive roles, we know that it's not optimal.
Okay. But the reason why I'm pushing you is because you limited the female acceptable jobs or whatever at 25% of the current female population of the military. That's where you said, oh, I don't really care. But what you're really doing by doing that is you're reducing the female population of the military by 75%, and you're talking about optimal. Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you something that's not optimal. 18 to 22-year-old alcoholics with machine guns who haven't seen a woman in years. That's not optimal, okay? And while this is not related to the job, I would argue that it's already suboptimal to have the population of females at 20%, but that's okay because we're more focused on the mission than we are focused on young people getting laid. But I'm telling you that you are going to make things worse. A bunch of gung-ho, tobacco dipping, alcoholic, machine gun carrying, hard chargers, piss and vinegar monsters. You're going to cut them off from 75% of the female population that they have access to. That's like a disaster waiting to happen. So unless you're talking about like, we're going to bring on, as a part of our military campaign, we're going to tell the ladies to hang out over here and just do the admin jobs. We're going to slash down 75% of the female population, and we're going to replace them with ladies of the night. I think you're cooking up a whole new host of problems.
Listen, if you gay, you gay. That ain't an issue of if there's girls around. If you're gay,
okay,
you're
hold
gay.
on.
Listen, real quick. Time out. I'll let you
Hold
speak.
on. Let David
Let me
finish his
reply.
thought, and then you can,
Okay.
and then you can respond.
So one, if you're gay, you're gay. If chicks not around, you think that, oh, well, women being around makes men straight. No, that doesn't make men straight. If you're gay, you're gay. At the end of the day, if that's what you think, and you even alluded to this in your opening, you said that eliminating women increases homosexuality. Do you know about the MST rate? Do you know about the MST rate that goes on with that negatively impacts the women's mental and physical health due to military sexual trauma? So there's a lot of cases in the military. There's a lot of cases in the military where, like you said, ain't no women around, right? And women would, some cases are true where men do commit MST. And then there's other cases where men are falsely accused of committing MST is because these women want to, get a higher rankings in certain positions in the military by using their sexuality. What I'm saying that women in the military and their sexuality in the military is not a problem. If you're gay, you're gay. The problem is women use their sexuality to manipulate men or is just problematic for men and women in spaces together like that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because sexual misconduct can happen. So what's your refutation for that?
Okay, my refutation for that is prison. You think that all the homosexual rape that's committed in prison is the result of every single homosexual rapist, every single person who participates in homosexuality in prison, they're just homosexual to start with.
They're gay.
Okay.
You think prison made someone gay?
They're participating in a gay act. Okay. We're on the same page there. But if you think that all of a sudden we go to prison, like exclusively male prisons, and then you increase the rate at homosexuality, so does that mean that the base population, since the prison population is representative of the original population, that means that shitloads of men are secretly gay?
What I'm saying is very simple.
You mean like half the population is secretly gay?
Do you think prison makes you gay?
I think prison increases institutional homosexuality, where you have no other opportunity.
Yes or no?
What's that?
Does prison make you gay, or is it just gay people in prison?
I don't think it's just gay people in prison. I think desperate people who want sexual contact will engage in institutional homosexuality. I already answered your question.
Wait, what? Then if you're desperate and you have sex with another man, then you are gay. Your correlation, listen, time out. Your correlation that you're trying to map on to prisons and homosexuality to homosexuals and the military, you're basically saying, well, since there's no women in the military, then the rate of homosexuality within men would increase. This would mean that, time out, listen, it is nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. This would mean that then men not being around women become homosexuals. I don't think
I'll just look up the sexual assault data from prison.
Sexual assault data from prison does not correlate to people. Does prison make them homosexual, or was they a homosexual or before they went into prison? That's the argument. My argument is that prison does not make people homosexual.
Is that most of those men, most of the people who engage in gay sex acts in prison would prefer women. But if they know that they're going to be in there for decades, then they're going to engage in homosexual acts.
This concludes that if a man would engage in homosexual acts in prison because there aren't any women, they are just gay. You're saying that prison made them homosexuals.
Yes,
that's your argument.
Institutional homosexuality.
So listen, okay, real quick, chat, this is crazy. You are really saying that prison makes people homosexual?
I think,
truthfully,
men,
excluding women,
I think that men, when they're facing decades of not like life or decades of no sexual contact, they would prefer to rape another man than have no sexual coitus whatsoever.
Would you?
Would I?
Yeah.
No.
If you didn't have sex for 30 years, would you rape a man?
No.
Okay, so if you wouldn't and you're straight, are you straight?
Yeah.
Do you think another straight man would?
I think there are people who
because you're straight. Listen, man, it's a dumb argument. It's the most stupidest argument
you have to
in
understand,
the world.
But hold on. This is where you're just so obtuse. It's almost laughable.
It's not
obtuse.
You
understand, like large swaths of the population are bisexual, right?
No,
you understand
bisexual
the pagan
means
world,
gay.
the pre-Christian world. You understand in the pre-Christian world that shitloads of people were bisexual, right?
Bisexual means gay.
Okay, then in the pre-Christian world, you understand that a majority of the population was gay, right?
A majority of the population was never gay. What are
you
you
don't
talking
think
about?
that in
Ever
the
since
Roman,
the beginning
you don't think
of
in the
time,
Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the Persian Empire, you don't think that was largely bisexual societies?
And guess what? Their military failed. But what I'm saying here is it's very simple.
That had nothing to do with the point that I was making. You think that pre-Christian societies weren't bisexual. I just want to hear you say that confidently while being obviously wrong.
You're conflating two things. Stop it here, right? What you're doing is, my point is some people gay? Yeah, some people are gay, but since we can calculate the data, it's only been a small not the majority. You said the majority of the population were gay back, hundreds of years ago or 1,000 years ago. That's just a lie. A very small population, a very small percentage of the population reports to be gay. Around, I know when it comes to like transgender and stuff, let's say
though, right?
When
you
we're
just said bisexual and homosexual are the same thing.
Can I maybe find?
I wanted to just land my plane real quick, but okay.
Will, but maybe find a landing point for it. Does it necessarily mean they are gay, as in they want to do this, or is it just simply participating in gay acts? Right?
He's saying that he can't differentiate, but I'm saying you can.
So listen, what I'm saying is this. If you are participating in a gay act, my friend, you are gay. You are gay before you participated in the act, because prior to an action, you have a thought, which means that you were having homosexual thoughts. So the men that was in prison and they're having gay sex, prior to the act, they still had homosexual thoughts. With them being in prison, do you think that this influenced a straight man to have homosexual thoughts and then to take action on homosexuality? I don't think that's the case. I'm a heterosexual male. You're a heterosexual male. You can't even fathom not having vagina for 30 years that you would then start being attracted to a man's wang and a man's butthole.
Hold on.
This is disgusting.
I can test this. You can't get laid for the next 7 months, okay? That for the next 7 months, you cannot get laid by a woman that you are attracted to, okay? There's a woman who is you are dating at home, a woman who's an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Beautiful woman, right? But you're stuck in the desert for 7 months, and there's a woman that you would normally consider 2 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10. Are you dropping your standards in order to engage in a relationship? Be real.
Okay, I'm going to answer it.
Be real.
So listen, I'm going to answer it, but then let me expound on my answer. So first, I'm going to give you a direct answer. My direct answer is yes, and this happens all the time when it comes to men. If men can't get a 10, well, they'll take what they can get as far as it being a woman. This does not correlate to a man like, well, I can't get a 10, I can't get a 5, I can't get a 1. That's a woman. Let me go ahead to the other opposite sex and have sex with a man. This does not correlate that. Just because men are only as basically sexual as their options, it doesn't mean that if a man doesn't have any options, he turns homosexual. That is not a correlation when you're speaking about homosexuality. So again, let me ask you a question. What you're trying to correlate here is eliminating women increases homosexual activity in the military. I just went ahead and debunked that because your example, an analogy to prisons, prison does not make people homosexual. Military does not make people homosexual. So therefore, it will not increase the homosexual activity in the military. It just means that there's gay people that join the military. That's what that means. It doesn't mean that the military is making them gay if we eliminate all women. So what you're saying here, man, is completely wrong.
No, it's not. Because if you would go ahead and take a look, no, it's not, Cooley. And just because you say that,
then you have to prove
just because
to me.
you say that it is,
yeah.
So I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to you.
That if you eliminate women, if you eliminate women in the military or eliminate in some type of proof that it makes men gay.
Okay, then I will go ahead. Give me 1 second to look up one more stat for you. Okay. So, population of the U.S. that is,
and it's crazy because you have to Google that. These is his arguments, chat, but he has to Google how people turn gay. Listen, bro.
No, I don't. I'm actually
gay.
making arguments for things that are actually pretty straightforward. You're just obtuse and you don't want to acknowledge reality. That's not my fucking problem.
Oh no, I'm acknowledging reality.
No, you're not. So, the reported population and the sexual assault rate within prison is higher than that of the bisexual and homosexual population reported within the United States. So what you're saying logically is that there's a bunch of straight people running around who are all actually closeted. And the second that they get into an institution where they can't engage in heterosexual activity, their real gay comes out. Their real homosexual impulses come out, which is bullshit. Okay? It's just bullshit. And by the way, you can just look at prison media, rape statistics. You can look at like anything related to prison, and you can effectively say, "Oh shit, was this motherfucker gay, or is he like a serial killing psychotic fucking rapist who can't get access to women, and therefore he takes out his sadistic urges on other men?" And so you can call him gay, and I'm happy that you're super confident, just being like, "Oh yeah, he's just gay. Who gives a shit?" But I'm telling you, the environment matters. Absolutely, matters.
Question for you, and I'll give you a little grace here. I see your argument, and I'll repeat it back so you see that I'm being genuine here and I'm not being disingenuous. You're pretty much saying that, well, there's basically the environment plays a big part. If a man is in a prison system, and you said, give me the stat again. I'm sorry, because I didn't hear it clear actually.
So it was like 5% of the population identifies, well, actually 9% of the total population identifies as some kind of gay. So trans, homosexual, bisexual, right?
Okay, yeah.
But the rape stat in federal prison was effectively like 11% or 12% experienced some kind of sex abuse in prison. So the
11%.
sex stat is about 3% above the homosexual population.
Okay, so
And
meaning
that's reported, by the way.
And that's reported. Yeah. Obviously, we don't know what's not.
You understand it's going to be underreported, right? Due to shame and stigma.
Yeah. I definitely agree that things will be underreported. All right. So I get your argument, right? The problem with that argument is you're essentially saying, because actually, let me ask you a question. Is it the case that you think people are born gay, or they're like, how do you think that happens? They're either born gay or it's influence based. Is it based off experience or they're born?
Question. I'm happy you asked it. So no, I do think that for homosexual people, it's probably an in vitro process where while they're getting hormones in the, as they're becoming children or whatever, there's biological flips and switches that are
from the
supposed to happen.
placenta, whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah. And so what happens is the switch that's supposed to get flipped for male heterosexuality with females, it just doesn't get flipped.
Okay.
I think it's probably like 80%, 90% biological.
Okay, got it. So 80, 90%. And I'm not going to argue that. I disagree, but I'm not going to argue that. That's not my point. I just wanted to
hold on,
know your worldview.
I'm curious though, because it detracts from previous arguments. Why don't you agree?
I'll let you know. Well, I'll let you know in a second. I just needed to know your stance on that. So the correlation you're making is about 80 to 90% of people are essentially born gay. Like when they come out that womb, they're going to be attracted to a man or attracted to a woman, right? Heterosexual or homosexual. But then the correlation that you're making, you're saying that then if you're in prison and there's no women, the probability increases for someone to be gay. So do you think that people are born gay or they're influenced when they're 18 to be gay? Like if you had, like, the thing is this, if you had I got you. If you had heterosexual thoughts from 0 to 18, and then all of a sudden that changed and you were influenced via prison to be attracted to men, do you think that change happens like that with people?
Okay. So I know you don't do this, but I do this. I distinguish between bisexual and homosexual. I do. I think there's dudes and there's chicks out there who are attracted to both sexes. All right. And the bisexual population is probably larger than the gay population. Okay. So what I think is a lot of people are socialized to be straight, and that's great. I think that shitloads of people are socialized to be straight. However, I think that when they're desperate and when they can't get their preferred partner, they will resort to whatever partner is available, because the sexual impulse in human beings is so strong that they'll take what they can get.
Okay, got it. So, now I'm understanding your argument a little bit more onto how people are born gay, how they would then, if they were straight, and then they'll be influenced via the prison system due to lack of.
If they're bisexual
women, then they would be. If they're bisexual, then they would engage in sexual acts.
Sure. Just for the sake that we don't argue. Okay. So for instance, like there's this joke that I actually really like, which is, what is it? Like,
forget the joke, man.
You lie
Can you
about
just
something.
clarify
I want to
that?
finish the joke because it's a funny joke. So
if I don't laugh,
you lie about something and
you're
you're just somebody who lied once. You suck a dick once, you're a dick sucker for life, right?
Sarah, that wasn't funny. Why'd you laugh?
I've heard the, all it takes is one dick kind of joke.
All it takes is one dick. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. And I actually agree with the joke that all it takes is one dick. Okay. And then at that point, you're gay, right? Or at least people can call you gay and I'm not going to object to it. Okay. However, I would argue that these pressures for bisexual people, I'm telling you, that there are probably people in prison who if you caught them engaged in a homosexual act, they would be like, oh, I closed my eyes and I imagined a woman. They would say some crazy shit like that. Now, do I think they're coping? Yeah, I think they're coping. But I think that would happen? Absolutely.
I got it. Okay, I get your argument. I asked you these questions to understand where you're coming, like your correlation your causation with the correlation as far as the homosexuals.
Yeah, I'm trying to say that you're trying to make more military members gay through your suggested
I get what
policy.
you're saying,
that's the thrust of the argument.
Now I'm going to expose all of it, right? So here's why your argument is weak and it's nonsensical. It makes no sense.
It better when you're making a point, but then you tell me how you're going to make such a good point.
I like to defeat people. It's like this. Like if we was in person,
I'm
about to punch you in your face and I'm going to knock you out. And then I go ahead and do it. And then you sleeping and you wake up like, man, he did something. He was going to knock me out. So I can't be as mad. I can't be as mad. Listen, you just said that, well, let me tell this corny joke. You told the joke and it was crickets. It was crickets. So listen.
Hey, Sarah, I get your argument, man. You plenty of boomers at home.
Okay, counterpoints. I get your argument.
Dumbass audience. That's not my fault.
Okay, great. Nah, man. Listen, I get your argument. But what I'm saying here is, your correlation does not equal causation at all. So once again, what you're saying is eliminating women from the military increases homosexual activity within men. You're saying that, well, there's a distinction between bisexuals and homosexuals. I don't think that there's a distinction between bisexuals and homosexuals, because if you have the same sex attraction and you participate in the same sex act, you are in fact homosexual. It doesn't matter if you have sex with let me finish because you spoke a lot. Let me finish. It doesn't matter if you have sex with a woman, you are still homosexual. You are still gay. So then let's just refute.
So I'll explain it for you.
I'll go. Let me finish, man. I'll let you speak. So hear me out, because here's my refutation for the argument, right? So you said that people are born gay. Basically, that's basically what you said, right? It happens in a womb with some chemical imbalance and stuff like that. Then the baby comes out gay. I don't think that at all. I think that being gay is an action, right? So gay is an action, but before you make an action, you have a thought. Before you make a thought, you are influenced, right? So a heterosexual every human being on this earth was created to reproduce, to procreate, right? So our biology is the main influence for us to procreate. So every man, the first influence is the biology, which would be heterosexual, which means that there's nothing in the womb, no chemical imbalance that's going on in the womb to say that, well, you need to be attracted to men if you're a man. That's not what's happening. What's happening in the biology is telling you that you need to reproduce, because we were all created to reproduce. That's what it's telling you in the biology. So if it's telling you to reproduce, how can you reproduce? With another woman, not with a man if you are a man. Second thing is, right, moving the needle forward. If you're saying that, well, this man was straight for all of these years, but, well, actually he was bisexual. He was attracted to men and women. Once again, I call that gay. So he wasn't straight for all of these years. He was gay for all of these years, and he entered the military and he was gay. He was gay for all of the years, and he entered prison and he was gay. The prison systems aren't making people gay. If you're gay, you're gay. I would say this, though, when it comes to the prison system and people being raped in prison, gay men would rape a straight man. Now, for a child, this can influence the child to then develop some homosexual thoughts. But I think that even a straight man, if he is raped, this would not influence him to like men. I don't think that's the case. If anything, you would be repulsed by it, and you would have a lot of rage, and you would go on maybe you want to get back, you want to chop a homie's wang off or something. I don't think that you're going to convert and be like, okay, girl, let's get it. That's not happening. You get what I'm saying? It's not happening. So once again, eliminating women increases homosexuality in the military is just false. You have no proof of it. You're just making this up out of thin air. It isn't true. So that point you're just wrong at. Now, once again, you didn't answer my point, right? My point is this: you want women in the military, but what about the MST rates? What about when women enter the military and they make a lot of sexual complaints, and a ton of them, men are being falsely accused? So then you put men in a precarious situation with working around women, because women want to get some status, and they'll use their sexuality to gain this status within the military by using their sexuality. So, man, it's like your arguments are weak right now, man. Like, let's get women out of the military, and you should agree.
No, you're confused, and that's fine.
Okay, sure. Go
So
ahead.
I'll explain some pretty simple concepts to you, and I hope that you consider them. Okay.
I'm
So
listening.
homo, all right. The word means same. Okay. Homosexual means same-sex attracted. All right. We tracking so far. Bi means two. Okay. So you're attracted to two things. So I know bisexual people. I know bisexual females. I know bisexual males. And I'll tell you, the dudes, you know, I'm like, you're gay, right? That's what I say to them, because if you engage with a dude, that's pretty freaking gay, right?
You
Now,
just
here's the
proved my
thing, though.
point.
They would argue, no, I haven't. I said that
Yeah, you
I'm a
did.
little bit homophobic to my bisexual friends. That's all I said.
That's not homophobic. You're being realistic.
All right. Anyways, here's why you're wrong. So when you walk into a room, as a matter of fact, you made a bunch of points, so I want to make a bunch of points in return, but I actually want to have a conversation rather than just yapping at you. Okay. When you walk into a room, who do you notice in the room? Who are you evaluating the most? Walk into a room, it's a mix of males and females. Who do you notice? Who do you look at?
Oh, you're asking me. I thought you're not going to answer it yourself.
No, I'm asking you.
Is it men and women in the room?
Yeah, it's both.
Is it a function? Do I have like some?
Right,
what's my purpose within the room?
I'll jump ahead. It's fine.
Yeah, go ahead and answer it.
The way that I would say that I evaluate a room is that because I'm heterosexual, I look at all the women and I evaluate them pretty ugly, pretty ugly, pretty ugly, pretty ugly, right? And then with dudes, they might as well be furniture. I barely fucking notice them unless they look like they can kick my ass. At which point, I'm not thinking, hey, I want to kiss that guy. I'm saying, damn, that guy looks like he could kick my ass. I might want to look out for him, right? So the whole reason why I bring that up, though, is because bisexual dudes and bisexual chicks, I've talked to them about this, that instinct in their brain to evaluate somebody for attractiveness, they do that for both sexes. And so as a result, homosexual and bisexual are not the same. These people exist, and just because you want them to be the same doesn't mean they are the same. Also, I'm going to go ahead and refute you historically. You already said how like you're going to refute this and refute that. I'm going to refute you historically.
Sure.
If you're right that all men are just pre-programmed from birth to be heterosexual, the biology of the species is the only thing that matters, and we're all heterosexual at birth. We're all programmed that way. Why the fuck number one, why does any genetic disease exist at all? Why do intersex people? Hold on, I'm not done.
Sure, go ahead.
Why do
you're straw man in that position.
Exist? Why do people with Tay-Sachs exist? Why do people with any kind of genetic disorders exist at all if we're all designed since birth to be perfect? And then number two, why were the Persian societies, Greek societies, and Roman societies filled with bisexuals if there's no, like if it's all like perfectly designed? That's bullshit. It's obviously bullshit. Now, finally,
you straw man my position though.
Points because you gave me like
before
5 points
you move on, do you want me to?
You gave me 5 points at once. So I'm gonna address your 5 points.
Since you straw man the position,
1 point instead of making 5 points.
I got it. You totally got the position wrong, man.
Hold on.
You totally got the position wrong.
I waited 5 minutes. You can wait 5 minutes.
That's fine, Fugazee, but let Connor at least finish his point. He did.
Okay.
You can take notes the way that I needed to.
Fair enough.
So MST, military sexual trauma, females getting assaulted in the military. Yeah, it's a problem. Do you know how you resolve that problem? You give people basic sex ed and you punish rapists. And then when it comes to females using sexual leverage in order to get ahead in their careers, yeah, I saw that. You know how you deal with that? You report it to the chain of command.
Okay, so once again, how you straw man my position is this way. You said that, people, I didn't say the biology. I said that the biology I said influence creates thinking, thinking creates behavior, right? So the biology is the main influence. So I don't believe that anyone is born gay. I think that what we are born is our biological proclivities to reproduce. So all of us will be born to be heterosexual. I do think that influence takes effect where the baby at a very young age uses its 5 senses and it takes on a liking to certain things. Maybe the liking of the feminine voice, the liking of the masculine presence and the father's voice and things like that. And over time, as this baby develops, what their 5 senses exposes them to and their environment, their experiences, what they watch on television, their nieces and nephews, who they're around, family, stuff like that, influences the child. And then at a young age, the child takes on an attraction of being attracted to the same sex. That's how I think it happens. I don't think that no one is born gay. I think influence creates thinking, thinking creates behavior. Why would our behavior be from birth to not reproduce? It doesn't make any sense. It's nonsensical since we all have these reproductive organs.
Why do people do hard drugs?
Furthermore, people do hard drugs because they were influenced to do hard drugs. So it doesn't matter your circumstances or what you are influenced by. You still have the ability to make choice. I do think that some people are just susceptible to certain things, meaning that they're weak and they can't overcome certain influences. And we're speaking about the gay influence. At a young age, children are more susceptible to be influenced by evil things that go against their biological proclivities. So that's how I think people become gay. I don't think no one is born gay. And you still haven't explained how someone can be straight and then all of a sudden, if you take women away from them, they become gay. That makes no sense to me, man. You're like skipping ahead. Even if they were bisexual, they're still gay. That's my point. I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Before you respond, Connor, we've been talking about the difference between gay, bisexual, what makes a man gay, the influence, born, so on and so forth, for probably about at least 30 minutes. So I just want to kind of ring that around a little bit to say if there are other points this would be a good use of time to push forward to other pieces.
We can agree to disagree and then move forward.
Or you can just make a concession and say that what you said was dumb.
Okay. I'm not going to concede that what I said was dumb. I think you ignore reality at your own peril.
Make people gay.
Hold on. Fugazee.
The military without women makes people gay. Stupid point. So if you like that clip and you want to watch more, click right here. But if you want to watch the full episode, click right here.